Hello, hello, hello. Testing, testing. Can you hear me?
Hi, good evening. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome aboard. I hope everybody can hear me. I've heard Marissa so far. Can anybody else hear me?
Good afternoon.
Okay, great, great,
Good
great.
evening.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, testing the audio on all
Good
sides.
evening.
Good evening. All right, so welcome to Credit and Collections 1. Ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we call it Credit and Collections 1, because you probably figured it out already, we have a Credit and Collections 2. But you need to get past 1 first. And from what I can see, that should not be too difficult for this group of students that I'm looking at according to my list. So let's get started. First things first, let me put a little information here, contact information for you so that you can know how to find me. Can you see my contact information?
I can see something that says launch meeting.
That's not it. Okay, let me try that again. Okay, let me try it now, see what happens. Do you see it now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So 3 important things for the next couple of weeks. Number 1, my name is Samuel Wilkinson, and I shall be your lecturer for the next couple of weeks to get you initiated into our version of credit and collections. I don't know yet if we have credit people in the class. I guess we'll find out very soon. But even if you're not in credit or lending at the moment, a lot of this information in part 1 is very useful for persons not only working in credit, but who might be thinking about it and who might be a borrower even, okay, or thinking about borrowing money, or thinking about giving somebody advice on how to borrow money and how to collect money and so on. So hopefully there's something for everybody in this session. For those of you who move on to do part 2, you'll find it's a little more stuff involved, a little more about business credit as opposed to just pure banking credit for commercial and consumer type loans. So it's a little more meat to it, but still very engaging. All right, my email address, please make a note of it. I'm always on my email, so if you need to say something, remind me about something, complain about something, please feel free to send me an email. I have no problem. I usually get back as quickly as possible. If you send me an email and you don't hear from me in 24 hours, you probably need to send out an APB. I'm probably missing or dead. I usually try to get them out as I can. Okay? And of course, my cell number is there as well. You can send me a text if you wish, if something comes up in between classroom sessions. Okay? Everybody have that information? Yes, no?
I do.
Okay.
Yes, I have it.
Okay, great. And I'll assume for our purposes, 2 is a quorum today. All right. So now that you know, well, I didn't say anything about me. I've been teaching with BIFSENS forever, back in the 80s. It's been a long time, close to 30 years maybe. I don't know where that time went, but anyway. And credit and collections is not the only course I teach at BIFS. I teach quite a few other courses there over the years, from trust management to accounting to professional programs that they offer, and credit and wealth management, all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So if you guys are thinking about doing more studies, you probably run into me again somewhere. Okay, so again, welcome aboard. What I'd like to do next is to just do my usual introductions now that you know who I am. And then we'll do a little bit of housekeeping for the semester. And then I don't believe Biff's. Do you guys have your notes yet?
I do not.
Okay. Yeah, I think something happened there, and so I ended up in the ninth hour trying to put it together, and I hope I have everything in good order because once we do the housekeeping, I will endeavor to email the material to you, and hopefully that will go without too many hitches. All right, but first things first, let me find out who is going to be in my sessions for the next couple of weeks, and then we can go forward. All right, let's see. Is that Tonique? Tonique?
Yes, Tonique,
Did I pronounce that correctly?
perfectly.
Unbelievable. Tonique Clark, introduce yourself to me and your colleagues. Tell us what you feel like telling us about Tonique. Most importantly, why are you doing this class?
Advancement at work. My name is Tonique Clark. I work at the Mortgage Corporation. I'm an ambassador. And it's just for advancement.
Sounds good to me. How long have you been with Mortgage Clark?
9 years.
9 years so far.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea, Tonique, why they call you an ambassador? Like, that's a pretty fancy name.
It's just a fancy way of saying I'm the person that I don't want to say interrogate, but I ensure that the potential client has
Yeah,
all of the information. I direct them where they need to go and what they need to do
indeed,
to eventually obtain a mortgage with us.
indeed. And most of those of us who understand the formal meaning of ambassador, usually an ambassador to a country represents the
Representative, yes.
yes. So when you guys walk into Mortgage Corp and you run into Tonique, she represents the whole deal. So whatever she gives, that's presumably the company, Tonique. That's a lot of pressure to call you an ambassador.
I
Big
know,
job.
right?
So are you actually in the credit department yet or working your way towards it?
I do a bit of credit. Yes.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So have you done your first like mortgage loan yet?
Oh, I've done dozens of mortgage loans, had them approved, all that good stuff.
Okay, so you are not green around the ears. You have been there, done that, which means
Yes, sir.
hopefully, for those of us in the class who may not have had that kind of experience, please feel free to throw in some life issues if you feel it might help, any experiences that might help, any gripes you might have without calling anybody's names. Like, you know what? Let's talk about this thing because that got on my bloody nerves. So anything like that would be fantastic, okay? Because you're in the field. Okay, that's always interesting. Okay, thank you, Tonique. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see who's next on the list. Nigel Conlep, are you there?
Hi, good evening. Yes, I'm here.
Hello,
Uh,
Nigel. Introduce yourself to us.
all right. Well, my name is Nigel Conliff. I see we got another Nigel in the group.
Two Nigel.
Um,
That's too many. Okay.
um, um, I'm employed at Bank of the Bahamas in the collections department.
The Bank of the Bahamas.
Yes, the very same.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been in banking for about 20 years now.
Wow.
As I said, I'm in collections. I was never in credit, but from time to time we do in-house training in
Right.
credit and collections. But this is the first time I'm doing it with PIFs.
Excellent.
So yeah, so experience should be, a different outlook on it.
Yeah, because organizational type stuff is designed a certain way, and they only say certain things and what they
Right.
want you to hear and stuff like that. In this class, it is not going to be that conventional. I can tell you, I tend to run what I call a very dynamic session if I could, which only means you're free to be free to talk, discuss, give insight, any bloody thing without having employers and supervisors and other discriminators around messing with what you have to say and think. Okay, so in this class, you're free to let it rip. Anytime you feel like, please feel free to share. How long have you been in credit collections, Nigel?
I've been here like about 12 years.
Okay, so are you interested in moving to credit?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
have you told them that?
Um, not in so many words. It's just that the opportunity came up, so I say, let me take a look at it and see where it leads me.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good idea. I suspect, Nigel Conliffe, that after all those years in collections and being on the real mean side of credit, I call it the mean side, collecting money is always a pain in the butt in one form or another. Very important function. Very important function. Maybe that's why you're stuck, because maybe you do that job well. True or false?
It's true. I do the job well.
Too well, maybe, so they won't move you.
Probably. But we'll see how it goes.
Yes, yes.
All
Welcome,
right.
welcome aboard.
All right. Thank you.
I suspect that by the time you're done, do both parts of credit collections, you'll have a strong feeling about making a suggestion next time. How about that?
All right. Sounds good.
Way to go, way to go. Definitely in the right place. Okay, Lisa. Lisa Espakis.
Hello, that's me.
Hello, Lisa. Is that you sitting on the dock of the bay?
Yes,
Well, in that case, introduce yourself, Lisa.
my name is Lisa Clark Asfakis, and I am an attorney. And I'm doing this course because I thought it would be interesting.
It is very unusual, Lisa Espakis, to have an attorney in this kind of class. You are a very rare species this semester. And
I
so,
recognize that a lot of attorneys do credit and collections in court, and sometimes they sound as if they don't know what they're doing. So before I go into court and make an idiot of myself, I want to know.
man, you are right on track. And here's why. First of all, you're right. Too many of them go to court representing these kinds of cases, and they don't know what they're talking about well enough. And yes, they do make themselves look a little idiotic sometimes, especially if they run into somebody who knows a little bit of this thing. So you are definitely in the right place. It is unfortunate that more attorneys don't see the wisdom in coming into an environment like this, especially where there's always some kind of credit litigation going on, some kind of injunction being sought, some kind of persons presenting themselves to collect money that is outstanding and won't be. I mean, these things happen every day, both in the lower courts and the Supreme Court in one form or the
Yeah.
other. Yeah, and fascinating. Make sure when you're done, Lisa, tell your colleagues, maybe they might listen to you. You're definitely, and I do not think you will regret getting some of the information that you will get along the way. Okay, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Fine. Now, if you see some of your colleagues looking at you strangely, don't worry about it, especially the bankers, like, what is an attorney doing in this class? Don't worry about it. They just find you curious because it's very unusual have an
One-
attorney.
So the bankers are the ones who hire attorneys to do credits and collections for them. And
I-
some of them don't know what they're doing.
Ironically, absolutely. Okay? And I keep hearing bankers saying, we're gonna send it to our attorney, thinking that they're gonna get the best results until they discover later on that that's not where the best results lie always. So you're
The
right.
attorney knows, oh, but the attorney doesn't know the banking rules.
No, no. And so you are going to put yourself slightly ahead of the game. Trust me. Good stuff, Lisa. Welcome aboard. Okay.
Thank you.
What we call a strategic move, yes? All right. Gwendolyn, are you there? Gwendolyn Ferguson Fritz. Okay, no Gwendolyn at the moment. Jonathan. Jonathan Johnson. Okay. Is this Joey Kemp? Joey? Nigel. Are you there, Nigel?
Yes.
Which
I'm just asking out of curiosity. You wouldn't happen to know a Jonathan Johnson, would you?
Yes, I do. Yeah, we work together. He was to work today. I don't know why but I know he's supposed to make contact with Biffs to send them his personal email address
Right.
because apparently they only gave us our work email. So
Wow.
I was able to get my personal email into to do the class, and he said he's going to do the same, but I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I understand completely. Probably got stuck in something logistical. Trust me, it happens. And
Yeah.
probably the same thing for Joey. They're probably out there swimming around thinking, what the hell happened?
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
Also, Mr. Wilkinson, Monique White, I noticed she's in this class also, but she hasn't been to work this week, so I'm not sure if she even got the information. Just
Exactly.
thought I'd throw it out there.
Yeah, thank you very much on that. I'll definitely make a note to this when this class is over and have them contact those persons just to make sure that they have the right information and they can make arrangements to join us. If not tonight at all, certainly by next week. Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you for that. All right. So let's see. Yep, the other Nigel McKenzie.
Yes, sir.
Nigel McKenzie, you wouldn't be related to Nigel Conliffe, would you?
No, sir. Well, I wouldn't.
Not related by first names. Yes. Okay, Nigel McKenzie, introduce yourself.
Well, work at Bahamas Mortgage as well. I do property management and operations. I took the class because I want to know about debt and how to make debt work. And
Yeah.
continue to learn more about finance and the financial aspect.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Yes, sir.
What does property management mean in English in your work? What does that mean typically for you?
Doing everything that nobody else want to do. So whatever issue we have, AC, sewage, plumbing, dealing with vendors, procurement,
Yes,
whatever you could think of, back office operations, that's what I do.
yes. Which means that you are in the same boat as Lisa. Different professions, but the same boat. It's very unusual to have such a character, Nigel, in credit and collections. What prompted you to do this? Again?
I like to know how to make money work, and especially debt. I realize most people use debt to get rich, so I want to see how it works.
Interesting. So this is kind of like a self-interest thing for you.
Yes, kind of, sort of. still want to be able to apply this to work, because in work I deal with a lot of, I guess it's self-imposed, but in work I want to get more knowledge on the mortgage end as well, because that's what I deal with as well. So
Indeed, I guarantee you there'll be something in here that you can walk away with, no doubt, in one form or another, whether it's job related or personally, for sure. All right,
yes, sir.
welcome aboard. Aaliyah. Aaliyah Mazia? I'm sure I didn't pronounce that properly. Aaliyah, are you there? Okay. Juliet Musgrove, are you there?
Good afternoon, good evening.
Hello, Juliet. Introduce yourself to us.
Hi, I work at the Grand Bahama Cooperative Credit Union. I'm a building and collections officer. And I'm doing this course to enhance my ability to learn more about the credit and collections area.
Sounds good. Sounds good. For you guys who are doing part one, I think they're offering part two in the fall. If you succeed through this session, which I suspect you should and would, I encourage you to go on and do the additional stuff while it's fresh in your mind. Because there's so much information you can get and tuck away, that will be very, very helpful, I'm sure. All right, welcome aboard, Juliet.
Thank you.
What does the building side of your work entail in general?
I'm in charge of like dealing with the building, anything pertaining to the building, renting out the units, making sure everything is intact, whatever, maintenance, whatever, I deal with that. And
indeed, that's fascinating. Kind of like what Nigel does and a different kind of
right,
way.
yeah.
Fascinating. That means you guys never have a dull moment. I'm sure every day to work is a strange day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
always something going on.
always something going on. All right, thank you very much. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Philip, Russell, are you there?
Yes, good evening. I'm here.
All right, Philip,
My-
introduce yourself.
My name is Philip Russell. I'm employed at the Grand Bahama Co-op Credit Union as the recovery officer. I've been employed here for the past 9 years, and hopefully I'm in this class to learn everything you have to sell to me.
Sounds good. I'll see what I can do. See if I can sell the hell out of some of this for your benefit, for sure, for sure.
Thank you.
What do you recover, by the way? You're in recoveries. What do you recover?
Properties, vehicles,
Yeah,
cash, delinquent loans, bad loans, anything in terms of getting assets or money back for the company, that's me.
indeed. A thankless job, but an important job.
Yes, it is.
For sure, for sure. Recoveries, it's like the stuff that Juliet and Nigel do, that unpredictable thing. You don't know what day is going to come up with what. You just walk in and see what the hell happens. Yes.
Correct.
All right. Fantastic. Welcome aboard. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Okay.
Pleasure being here.
Pleasure having you. Marissa Stubbs, are you there?
Hi, good evening. Yes, sir.
Hi, Marissa, introduce yourself.
My name is Marissa Stubbs. I am employed at Commonwealth Bank. Banking is actually foreign, kind of new to me. I just started this year because most of my life I would have spent in the hotel industry. So I'm trying to go into something different in terms of career. So, and I would like to apply through the credit and collections department. So I decided to do a course in it first to see if it's something that I'll be interested in. But I work in the credit card department at this time.
Excellent, excellent. How long have you been with Commonwealth?
This is going to be my 5th month.
Okay, so you're the new kid.
Brand new. Losses are back.
Just keep clapping around, you'll be fine. Just don't
All
stop.
I know is customer service. That's all I know. So that I get by that, but I'm learning the process as I go. It's getting better.
It's fascinating to have a hotelier go into banking. That
Yes.
is not common. How did that happen?
Well, that would have happened during the pandemic. For those persons who were made redundant over to Atlantis, I had 15 years in that, 10 of them in restaurant management. And so, instead of me applying back to the hotel to do the same thing, I just decided to venture out to learn something different. Because I'm also studying human resources management as well.
Well, you know what? Those two areas will work.
Yes.
At some point when you're done studying, and whatever you do in both areas will help you in both areas. That's the whole point. And at the end of the day, when you're done, you'll be able to hopefully pick and choose somewhere along the line in your new profession. Well, good,
Yeah.
Marissa. Welcome to the world of banking. It's a whole different animal. I spent a couple of years as a financial controller to that hotel that used to be all the way behind God's back. What's the name of that hotel again, Marissa? Way behind God's back, past everything, past everything.
Albany?
Not Albany, the one before Albany. I don't think it's an operation anymore.
Whoa. I don't remember.
Yeah,
You mean where the golf course was?
say it again?
There was a golf course.
It had a golf course.
I know, the name won't come to me. I know what you mean.
Yeah, I worked there and it wouldn't come to me. South Ocean.
There you go.
South Ocean. Okay. Okay.
South Ocean Hotel way back when my kids were kids. I can't believe it, they're grown up. What the hell happened? Anyway, yeah, I used to be the financial controller out there for a couple of years. And I discovered something that I already knew, that the hotel business is a strange animal unto itself. Correct, Marissa?
Too strange.
Yeah, and all the people who work there are all kinds of species of, I don't want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. All right. So yeah, you spent your time, and I don't know if I want to say thank God you're out there, but thank God you're out there. Thank God for the pandemic. Now you can start a new life in a new world where there's a little more civility, Marissa.
Yes. Hallelujah. I agree with that.
I
And
know,
thank God I'm out of there. You can say it. I'm glad I'm out.
I know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
That's
It
why.
wasn't easy.
No, it's not. When I was a younger man, they tried to get me in all kinds of hotels and offer me all kinds of money, and I'm like, no way. I don't want to become that animal. Well, I shouldn't say animal. Marissa knows what I mean.
Right.
Okay, so the 3 years I spent as controller, that was more than enough to satisfy my curiosity about something I already knew. All right, good, Marissa, for making the transition.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Okay, Monique, are you there? No, sorry, Monique is not there. Probably. Okay, is there anybody's name I didn't call?
I see a Walter there.
Walter, let's see if Walter is on my list. Walter.
Hello. Oh, yes, I am Walter Blake.
Walter Blake. Let me
You
just
should have a Walter Blake. I'm with the Bank of Montserrat.
from Montserrat. Let me just
Yes.
make it Walter. Okay, Walter Blake, Blake.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. And where do you work, Walter? In Montserrat.
Bank of Montserrat.
Montserrat.
Yes.
Yeah, like Bank of the Bahamas. Okay.
Not the Bahamas, Bank of Montserrat.
I know I'm saying it's like we have our Bank of the Bahamas thing.
Right, that's the national bank.
Yes. Okay, Montserrat. Way to go. Okay, Walter, do me a favor. When we're done, can you please, you have my email, yes?
Yes.
When we're done, please send me an email so that I can have your email and
Okay.
your contact in case I need to reach you
Okay.
for any reason, okay?
Yes.
Okay, Walter, introduce yourself. Tell us why you're doing credit collections.
Well, basically, unlike Marissa, I've been in the banking industries just a little over 30 years.
30 years.
Yes, 30.
Wow. Okay.
So I'm on my way out looking for retirement.
And so therefore you're doing this kind of course because,
Well, I've been assigned to the collections department, so I'm sort of helping out there in the collections department.
okay, so you're gonna grab a little information um, along the way.
That's right.
You probably, have you worked in credit collections before in the bank?
No, I've been mainly operations and IT.
Ah, okay, okay, excellent. Which means that you'll be learning some new things, which is a good thing. And given the nature of some of this information, you might find it to be helpful even into retirement. whatever
Right.
it be. So
Absolutely.
one way or the other, you're in the right place, notwithstanding. Okay, for sure.
Okay.
All right, wonderful. Welcome aboard, Walter.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Anybody else online that whose name I didn't call? Did I miss anyone?
Well, I see my colleague is on as well.
Okay, and your colleague's name is?
Delali Hall.
Okay, let's see if he'll shout.
So go right ahead, Delali.
Yes, Delali.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, Delali.
Hello, my name is Delali Hall from Bank of Montserrat also. I've been employed with Bank of Montserrat for the past 8 years.
Okay.
I've been in the credit department for the last 4 years, the loan officer.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So you're definitely in the right place, gathering information to help.
Yes. Soaking it all up. Yes.
Excellent, excellent. Well, you're certainly in the right place. Hopefully, we can add some additional information to what you already know. And by all means, if you guys would like to share any of your experiences down at Bank of Montserrat, it's something that will not get you fired. We certainly welcome that. It'll be nice to get some idea of what's going on outside of the Commonwealth for sure, especially down in Montserrat. I was in a meeting of FIU heads with CFATF. You guys are familiar with CFATF?
Yes.
Yeah. For the last week and a half, and I think we had a delegate or two from Montserrat's FIU, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, it was quite interesting. They were giving us some feedback about what's going on in Montserrat and other Caribbean islands. And I always tease my Caribbean friends because you guys have a very unusual dialect, you see, and I love it. All right, just to let you know. All right, so if you hear me switch into your dialect every now, don't worry about it. I love it. Okay.
Okay.
Way to go. Okay, Delali, thank you very much and welcome aboard. It's good to have you guys here with us. Let me just say right off the top, this class is an open session class. Yes, we'll be talking about credit and collection concepts and having discussions. Please feel free. If you have any thoughts, comments, etc., just let them rip. You don't need to put your hands up. Just start talking, raise a question, tell us a story, give us some insight. It does not matter. Anything you say, I'm sure will benefit somebody in the field. So please feel free. Okay. All right. So what I need to do now is to arrange to get your material to you. But I only want to do that for the persons who are here today, since I'm not sure what's going to happen with the other persons yet. So let me see how I can pull that off. Just give me a moment. Mm, hmm. See if I can make this work. Okay, just bear with me. I'm trying to see if I can get your notes to you in one piece without too much blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Hi, Mr. Wilkinson.
Yes,
I have my book.
you have your book.
Yes, I got it today from Mrs. Dean, I think, Letitia.
Okay, that's
All right.
Marissa.
Yes, I have mine. Yes, sir.
Okay,
All right.
that just leaves the rest of the class.
My supervisor is coming into Nassau on Friday, and she said she's gonna pick up me and Mr. Russell's book.
Okay,
I got my book as well.
so who does not have a text?
I have my book also.
Is anybody who does not have a text? That should make life a little easier. Everybody has a text?
I do not have a text. Everybody does not.
Okay. Let's see. Is that, who said? Lisa, you have a text. You said you don't have a text.
No, I do not.
Okay, Lisa needs a text. Anybody else in the group tonight needs a text?
We don't have the book.
Okay, Walter and Delali need the text. That's 3. Okay, great. That means I can take off the rest and just worry about the 3. Okay. Okay, so let me try and do that because I'd like everybody to have a copy before we begin. Walter and Blake. Walter and Blake at Yahoo. Okay. So there are only 3 people I need to be worried about tonight, and that's Walter and Delilah. Delilah, what does your email begin with?
You want me to type it in the chat?
Yeah, that would be great. Or yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay, I have Walter, I have Lisa, I just need Delilah. Okay, yeah, I have Walter. Okay, okay, okay. Great. So I can take the rest of it out. Hope this works. Okay, so let's just say it's Walter, Lisa, and AMI. Okay. Attaching. I haven't run off, just trying to get this to the remaining persons. Okay, so far so good. Let's see if the final step works. Okay, Walter, Delali and Lisa, I'm sending it. Let me know when you get it. God forbid.
I see the email.
You got it?
I did.
Okay, great. Walter, Delilah, let me know when you get it.
I don't see it as yet. I'm refreshing.
Yeah,
Okay, yes, I got it. Thank you.
perfect, perfect. Walter?
Still checking, I haven't received it as yet.
Okay.
Yes, you can proceed. I haven't gotten it as yet now.
You haven't gotten it. Let me see.
Walter N. Blake at yahoo.com.
Walter N. That might be the catch. Let's see.
Yes, that's what I put there.
Yeah, Walter N. I have the N. Blake
Mhm.
at yahoo.com.
Right.
That's interesting. W-A-L-T,
Mr. Walter, check your spelling.
you got it?
No, W-A-L-T-E-R.
WALTERNBLAKE
Yeah,
at yahoo.com.
yes.
That's interesting. It didn't go in junk, did it?
No,
Okay, let me try that again. WALTER Walter NBLAKE at yahoo.com. Okay, sending it again, Walter.
it's probably coming somewhere down the chain of islands.
Yeah. For sure. Okay, I'm sending it again.
Okay, let me give you my work email just in case.
Okay.
In the chat.
Strange things happen.
I just put my work email in the chat.
Okay, great. Okay.
And that's Walter.Blake@bankofmontserrat.ms.
MS, yes. Okay. Me give that a shot. I'll throw that in as well. WAL Walter Blake.
There's a period between Walter and Blake, huh?
There's a period between Walter and Blake.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the same thing with the first one?
No.
Okay. I know I didn't see that before. Walter, period, Blake. Okay. Bank of Montserrat. Yes. One of these have to work, Walter.
Yes, they better do.
Okay, I'm sending.
Okay. Where I'm located, it's Fort Knox, so it's has got through a lot of firewalls and so forth. So I guess that's probably the reason.
Yeah. I understand completely. Let me know when you get any one of them.
Okay, I see a Samuel Wilkinson. Does look like it.
That's it.
Yes,
Absolutely. And then
Oh,
which one worked? The work or personal?
the work.
The work number.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. All right, the other thing, one or two more housekeeping items. Now that we have all that important stuff done. The course will run for 5 weeks. Credit collection 2 is usually 10 weeks because it's a lot more material of a different kind. But part 1 is for 5 weeks. And I've been wondering whether I should, for you guys, run the full 5 weeks and then we have a final examination, or divide it into 2 parts, the first 4 weeks and then a test on credit, and then the final week on collections and then a test on collections. What would be great for you guys? Since we only have 5 weeks, let me hear what the floor has to say. Should we do it all one time and have one big breakdown, or shall we do it in 2 parts and have an almost big breakdown?
I would say 2 parts for me, who's fresh to it, but the majority rules.
Can I ask, what is the normal layout or format of an exam?
The examination is usually a combination of definitions and short answer questions.
Okay.
Okay, so you will learn some very specific terms that you automatically learn and need to know. And so I'll say, what is credit? What do we mean by defamation of character, or whatever the case might be. And based on our discussions in your study, you should pretty much be able to come up with those definitions. And then there'll be some short answer questions like, what steps should you take in order to grant a loan? When the customer doesn't have a down payment, what should be considered? List one, two, 3 things that might occur if a delinquent client comes in, things like that. So pretty much just short answer questions and definitions. Nothing out of this world and nothing you should not be able to handle. Okay. So what does the floor say? We have one person who says, I'm new. Let's do it in 2 parts. Let's do the credit first for the first 3 or 4 weeks. And then let's do the collection section for part 1 is not very long, certainly not as long as credit. The majority of the work this semester will be on the credit side, and then some very core collection stuff that probably wouldn't take us more than a full class session. Okay, so we have one person that says 2 parts so far. Are there
2 parts. You can do it in 2 parts.
2 parts, okay. All
The
right.
answers are in the chat, Mr. Wilkerson.
All right.
The answers are in the chat. They're replying in the chat, most of them.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Oh, got it. All right, let me go into Putin section, the quiet stuff. Okay. Okay, fantastic. Then 2 parts it is. So here's what we're going to do. The first 4 sessions will be on credit, and then, the first 3 the first 3 sessions will be on credit, and then you'll have a test in week number 4, and then week number 5, we will cover the collection concepts, and then the following week you'll do your collections test. The examinations will not be cumulative. Once you're done with the credit side of things, that will be it. And your final test will be purely on collection concepts. Okay, so that should make it easier in some ways for some persons anyway, especially persons who are coming from one industry to the next is completely different. Hopefully that will help. All right. The other thing is I have a nice little, what do I call it? I have a nice little research paper that I usually have first time students do. It's not a research paper to drive you out of your mind, for you to get a PhD or master's degree or anything like that. It's just a paper for you to go out and be creative in terms of answering the question. There's no right or wrong answer unless you come up with something outrageous, you lose credit. Like if I ask you to describe the credit collection process in the financial institution, and you say, well, the war in Ukraine should never have happened, then that's really out in left field, even though it's true. Okay, so as long as your response is within the context of things, that is my concern. I just want to have you go out, do some research within reason, and put your thoughts on paper with regards to what you come up with. Okay, so don't worry, don't panic. Just don't wait until the last minute to actually do it. The paper will not be due until your final week of class, which is week number 5. So you do have a little time, and I encourage you to wait maybe a little bit. You can start researching other stuff, and of course you have your notes. So those of you who feel ready can get started as soon as you want, but certainly whatever you do, do not wait until the last minute. The last minute really sucks in any situation. Okay.
And when will this assignment be due?
It is not due
I did-
until the final week of class, week number 5.
And you'll send the question in writing?
Yes, definitely. As a matter of fact, maybe I should do that now and get that final bit of housekeeping out of the way. That's probably a good idea. Which date is 5 weeks from today? Anyone who has a calendar? Week 5, which date is that? June the what?
29th.
June the 9th?
29th.
29th, okay. So that's, do I have any seconds on that? And somebody else agrees with that, June the 29th? That includes tonight's class, right?
No.
Yeah,
That's excluding tonight's class. It's 25th.
no, including tonight's class. Tonight is week number 1. So when is week number 5?
The 22nd.
So, yeah,
22nd.
Okay, so that's the date that your paper is due. Okay? And so if your paper is due on the 22nd, now if you finish your paper before the 22nd for some reason, you can still send it. Just make sure you have it written up nicely. But I have instructions on it, type it up, whatever, and send it if you're done before the 22nd. But you certainly have until week number 5 to do it. Okay? So if week number 5 is on the 22nd, it means your final exam, which will be based on collections only, will be a week after that, which is June the what?
I count in week number 5 on my calendar as the 29th. I count in the 22nd as the 4th Wednesday.
My, it's getting interesting. Okay,
No, seriously, because,
does that include tonight?
Today is
okay,
the first class.
sorry. Yes, they are correct. My calendar was in June, so it's still me. Must not-
Yeah, it's, don't worry,
My God, my
Don't-
God.
don't worry about it. It happens all the time.
Mercy.
Okay? So don't worry about it. Just make sure when you get your test papers, whatever you think you see is what you see. Because sometimes in examinations, you start to hallucinate and see things you don't see. All right, way to go. All right, so week number 5 is June the 22nd, which means your final exam will be 1 week later, which is June the what?
29.
Sorry?
29.
Yeah, June the 29th, final exam. Okay, collections. If your first exam, which I call the midterm exam, is in week number 4, which day is that?
22nd.
No,
22nd?
it's
What
week
day-
number 4, 1, 2, 3. The 15th.
The 15th.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So
We
now,
count today.
including today's session. Okay, so let's make sure we get our dates right. Your midterm exam will be on June the 15th, 4 weeks from now. Your final exam will be on June the 29th. Our final class will be week number 5, which is June the 22nd. Okay, Please make note of that so we don't get stuck anywhere. Okay. And when is your term paper due?
On the 29th.
On the 29th. Is that correct?
Oh,
No,
I would love for it to be done.
it
I
is due on
know.
22nd.
Yeah, it's due
Okay.
on the 22nd, the final day of class, okay? Remember, the 29th is the week following when you'll only have be writing your final exam
Exactly.
credit, which is the collection side. But the final day of class, where we will discuss the collection concepts, will be June the 22nd, and that is the day that the payment paper is due. For those of us who are diligent enough and finish before that time and just want to be rid of it, then feel free to do that. But you do not have to do it until June the 25th. Okay? All right. The other thing, let me get this paper out to you while we are on a roll. Let's see. That means I have to send this to everybody, but only those who are in class tonight. Nigel, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Okay, can I assume that you will touch base with your colleagues and give them all this stuff, all three of them?
Yes, that's not a problem.
Yeah, and also have them,
When you, sorry, Mr. Wilkinson, you said all three?
well, I was being enthusiastic,
Okay, all right, cool. Yes,
but can you reach all three of them?
yes.
Great. If you can reach all three of them, that would be great. Have them contact Miguel and company at the Institute to make sure that they finalize whatever they need to do. And then give them my email contact, ask them to send me an email so that I can update them on the rest of the blah, 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 in addition to whatever you might tell them.
Okay, not a problem.
Yeah, ask them if they can do that, like maybe tomorrow or as quickly as possible, so that we can get them, the three of them, online and moving along with the rest of us.
Okay, not a problem.
Great. Okay,
All right.
now next question. Okay, now let's see if I can get this term paper out to everybody, and then we can get started with tonight events. Well, the rest of tonight events. Everything we've done so far is absolutely important. Okay. Okay, so Walter, Lisa, JOI, who's that? Oh, Kemp. Okay, Kemp. Okay, Kemp is not in the group tonight. Nigel McKenzie, of course, is here. Philip Russell is here. Anik is here. Gwen Ferguson. Gwen Ferguson is not here. I'm just trying to eliminate from this list who's not here. Nigel McKenzie is here. Okay. Juliet. Juliet is here. Monique is not. And Nigel Conliffe is here. Philip Russell is here, of course. Okay. So that's Jonathan Johnson is not here yet. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. 1, Okay. Marissa, your email begins with MY, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. Just making sure I don't take you off this list that I have. One, two,
Mr. Wilkerson,
Yes,
question, are you doing the credit and collection too as well?
as far as I'm aware, yes.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, if I'm alive and kicking in the fall in September, yes.
Bless, all right, sir.
Doing that so it can kind of continue on without too much blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Delali, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Lily, what does your email begin with again? AMI?
MIVI.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's 789. Okay, 84. So I have 10. That means I have somebody here who shouldn't be here yet. Aaliyah, that's it. Sitting among you guys. Okay. Also dot break at find. Oh. MS. Okay. Walter, I never thought I'd be typing Montserrat so many times in one evening. How about that? Talk about unexpected. Okay. So I think I have everybody in tonight's list, 369, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. So let me send you the research paper now so that we can get that behind us. We don't have any issues pending. Okay. Walter, I'm sending it to both again, just in case.
Okay. You know when I receive.
Okay. Okay, there you go. Let me know when you get it.
See something come in. All right. Yes, I got it.
Fantastic. Everybody else got it?
I ain't seen nothing yet for me.
Who's that? Marissa?
Mm-hmm.
This full of Russell, I received that.
Excellent, Marissa. Check your junk. Let me just make sure I sent it to the correct Marissa. Marissa, your email begins with what?
MYKENANN.
Yeah, I sent it. You didn't get it?
I'll check again.
Okay. Okay, everybody else got the research paper?
Is it the document that says CC1 research paper?
It is.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Okay, Marissa, you got it?
Not as yet, but I'll check again before the class ends and let you know.
Hmm. Stranger than fiction, Marissa. Okay. MYKNNKN.
Oh my God, 14 size font, okay.
Somebody said, my.
I'm gonna mute my mic. That was me.
Oh, no, no problem. I'm gonna send it to you again, Marissa.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Okay, one of them should show up. And then, of course, last but not least, classes are scheduled from 6:30 to 9:30. Some nights, depending on what's going on, I might run right into the whole 9:30 thing, or sometimes I might break a little bit earlier to give you guys a break, give us all a break, for being so courageous all day and then coming to sit through all this crazy stuff at night. All right. Just let me say the research paper, the instructions are there. Just go ahead and follow those instructions and you should be fine. If you have any doubt about anything along the way, please raise them in class. Maybe your colleagues might be happy to hear your comments, or you can send me an email if you want to send it directly to me about something specific. Please feel free to do that. Don't be stuck, no matter how simple it might seem. Or some people still say, I have a dumb question in my classes. There's no such thing. So please feel free. All right, so let's begin then. If there are no other, are there any questions about any of all the stuff we talked about tonight so far?
You said class ends at 9:30?
6:30, ends at 9:30.
I thought it was 8:30.
Who told you 8:30?
That's what's on the email sent,
Yes.
6:30 to 8:30. I thought it was
Really?
6 to 8 actually.
6
And
to 8.
I'm looking forward to 8:30.
Why are you looking forward to 8:30?
Can I tell you that I'm hungry?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
I get it. What I will probably do is this. Since most of us seem to agree that it's 2-hour class, and for some reason I am saying it's a 3-hour class, we'll compromise. We'll break tentatively around 9 o'clock, sometimes a little bit before. Reason is because our semester is not a very long one. We are going to be jetting it from start to finish, so to speak. And truth of the matter is, I'd like you to get as much from discussions and readings, etc., as possible. Give you an opportunity to be involved as much as possible, and so on. So we'll compromise. No 9:30. We'll finish somewhere around 9-ish, 10 to 9, 9 o'clock. The third week when we have exam, the fourth week, if we still have some stuff to do, we might go a little bit over just to make sure we cover what we need to cover. But in any event, we should be good. If you're feeling like the old people used to say back in the day, feeling peckish, which is another word for feeling hungry, feel free to get up and get some snacks. Whatever you do, have some coffee, that's fine. Grab it, come right back and join the fray. All right. for sure. That's not a problem. If you want to bring something delicious to eat during the class, I have no problem with that. Bring it to whatever table you're at and munch away while we go through this stuff. So please feel free.
So we
All right.
begin at 6:30.
6:30, yes.
Okay, 6:30 to 9 every
6:30
Wednesday.
to 9 every
Okay.
Wednesday. Yes.
All right.
Okay. Perfect. All right. If there are no other questions for now, that's fine. If you think of anything, you know what to do. Just raise it. No problem whatsoever. All right. So let's go to the beginning of the beginning. What is credit? See, what is credit? Any thoughts, anyone? What is credit? Anyone? Shout something, blurt something out. What is credit? When you hear about credit, what do you think about?
Debt.
That's
Borrowing.
Yeah, borrowing. Somebody else said something else?
The lending and borrowing.
Yeah, lending money, borrowing money. To see, remember, credit occurs on two sides of the fence, like a coin. Credit occurs with the lender and credit occurs with the borrower, by all means. Now, typically when somebody says they're getting credit, I think most of us, well, I shouldn't take it for granted because we have a hotelier and something else going on, Les, Lisa and all that, who might have some idea about this stuff, but not necessarily entirely. So when we hear this word credit, we should immediately be thinking about some financial institution or otherwise lending money or somebody walking in somewhere to borrow money. Somewhere along the way, credit occurs, and essentially what happens is that when people come in to borrow money, or institutions, remember, people are not the only groups that borrow money. Institutions borrow money as well. Companies borrow money as well. Charities borrow money sometimes. Churches even borrow money. Okay? For those of us who are in recoveries, I don't know how you're going to repossess the church. Let's see who's in recoveries again. Philip, not Philip. Who's in recoveries at wherever?
I am
Let's see who I am.
Russell Phillip.
Yeah, Philip, you are in recoveries. Okay. If Church of the Living God on Two Chop Corner gets a loan from your organization, and for some reason, because of COVID or otherwise, they run into financial trouble. Let's not use COVID this time. They run into financial trouble on the side that the pastor gets up one day and says, I had a dream and God told him not to pay another dime on your loan. What do you do, Philip?
The church has to be repossessed.
Are you bold enough to foreclose on a church, Philip?
Yes, sir.
Listen, reception hall.
You mean what?
I have a job.
You
Oh,
mean
God.
as long as they're paying the loan, they're a church. When they stop
Yes, sir.
paying the loan, they become a reception hall.
Reception hall.
That's an interesting reclassification for a delinquent account. I don't think I've heard that one before, not even when I worked in delinquency. But yeah, that's pretty creative way to look at it to ease your conscience. You're not afraid that God will strike you down on the ground, Philip, for repossessing the church?
I think God would want me to repossess the church.
Nope.
Why would he want you to do that?
Doesn't Philip has to pay tithes at his church? He needs his job.
Exactly. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So now, notice all of a sudden, credit goes from just CREDIT to a very fascinating thing. Because now all these things we're talking about, including delinquency and repossessions and all this stuff, they're all part of the credit and collections process. So you can see right away how dynamic this particular job can be. how incredibly amazing and crazy this business of lending money and collecting money can be. A lot of people on the outside who don't understand how this thing works, they think it's just a bunch of people smiling, collecting a check, and driving off in their new car or moving into their new home that they got from the Bahamas Mortgage Corporation and Company. Okay? But some of us who have worked in credit, past and present, and collections, we know that this business of credit is not so simple all the time. So what is credit could turn out to be something very simple in concept and then very, very convoluted and stinky, as we say, in practice, depending on what happens. Okay? So essentially, when people borrow money and banks or financial institutions lend money for a period of time with a promise that the customer will repay that debt over a period of time, that is a typical credit scenario. Some institutions give loans with collateral and others give loans without collateral. Who knows what collateral is in this class? What is collateral from a lender's perspective?
Security.
Surety.
Surety, okay. What is an example of collateral? Give me
I
one
have,
example
I
of
have a piece
collateral.
of property
Property,
and I
vehicle.
wanna, yeah,
Yeah, somebody has a piece of property, they need a medical loan or an educational loan for their child who's going to college. They go to the bank to borrow the money. The bank says, do you have any collateral? I say, I only have a vacant piece of property that my Grammy gave me until she told me never to lose it and I should swear and all that. And that's all I have. And the lender will say, fine, doesn't matter what your Grammy says, we need that.
or
And
you
then
can't get the money.
or you can't get the money. All right. And he said, but what happens if I don't pay it? And then you will forego on your promise to your Grammy. But again, this part of the discussion doesn't come up during the lending process oftentimes because everybody is chippy, bringing all the documentation in that the lender requires, meeting the down payment requirements and all this kind of stuff, and the loan is booked. And then 6 months to a year to 2 to 3, 5 years later, something happens, and suddenly this loan that started off so well starts to become delinquent. Then it goes over to Philip, who has a job to do, tithes to pay.
Last statement, because we do discuss that here at the Grand Bahama Co-op Credit Union,
Okay, what do you discuss?
that what will happen if you cannot afford the loan.
You discuss
We
that at the
discussed it.
time.
Yes, sir. Before
You
you
have to.
sign that agreement, that is discussed.
Yes. That's the old-fashioned way of giving loans, and that's still the best way to do it. Does it always result in success? No. But your chances of getting the customer to pay better and consistently are far greater if you have that discussion before the loan is closed or booked. Okay, for sure. One of the things that every lender has to know immediately when it comes to credit and giving a loan is that somehow the lender has to establish what we call the credit worthiness of the customer. Very first
Ability to
paragraph.
pay.
Yeah, very first paragraph in your notes. Somehow you need to find out about the credit worthiness of the customer. And what is credit worthiness again? Anyone?
The ability.
Yeah,
Ability to pay.
customer's ability to pay that debt. If the lender cannot establish that with some degree of comfort, chances are that lender should not give that customer credit.
Decline.
Okay? Because everything, for the most part, dwells within whether or not the customer can repay. And that comes from a long word in lending called credit worthiness. In other words, credit is not a luxury. Credit is not something to be taken for granted. And credit is not to be taken lightly. And sometimes it's important to have that discussion with clients upfront as well. Because some people are so excited about getting the car, the property, the house, whatever it is they're getting, that they stop listening to anything else you say after you say the loan is approved. Everything else you say goes over their heads. But it's still a good idea to have that discussion prior to them leaving the institution once the loan is booked and the check is ready and they're ready to drive off, etc. Okay? So credit worthiness is the common denominator. Okay? Credit has to do with trust. The bank has to have enough information to trust that the client will repay. The client already trusts the bank inherently because the bank is a big bank with all the money, and therefore, why should I distrust the bank? The bank has a greater distrust in the client, unfortunately, because the bank's typical experience from time to time is that after a while, clients sometimes don't pay. The average person repays, but there's a 5, 10, 15, 20% of persons, depending on the market, location, jurisdiction, geography, where the delinquency rate can be anywhere from 3% to 25%. That's a huge concern for lenders. And so when they start asking you to bring this and bring that and bring the other thing, they start checking everything you say to verify that the information you're given is true and correct. You can see why. Unfortunately, lenders have come to find out that not all of their customers are honest and forthright. Sometimes they bring in forged documents. Sometimes they bring in job letters stamped with a job that they don't work for. Sometimes they declare income that does not exist, and all kinds of wild and crazy things, which means that when it's time to give credit, it is not something to be taken lightly. The lender has to take all steps to make sure, and we're going to talk about the verification process and a whole lot of other things eventually, to make sure that the customer is giving us the correct information, that the information is verifiable, and that all third parties that you need to touch base with to check stuff, check it. Don't take that beautiful smile, that kind, sweet client, that lovely lady, Philip, and so on. You have to deal with the facts of the matter, and we'll see a whole lot of how that works in a little while. Because if you don't, you'll find that your delinquency side will be far higher than you want it to be. And of course, financial institutions are not interested in delinquency that keeps going up and up. Some of you have been in delinquency, maybe Philip and others would know that during the pandemic, delinquency went sky high, I imagine, yes?
Yeah.
Did you guys have to do any
Yes.
foreclosures during the pandemic?
No.
That wasn't allowed.
Why not?
It's a little tricky for us.
I know.
We're
So now,
quasi-government, so it was a little tricky.
yes,
Yes.
welcome. See, just when you thought that credit was simple, somebody says it's tricky. See, after all that stuff we said at the beginning, you figured we could close the book and the semester's over. Like hell it is. Because now,
Yeah.
suddenly, in addition to all that stuff from paragraph 1, we're not even off the boat yet. We haven't even started the engine. And now all of a sudden we have all that and then tricky. And she's right. It's tricky.
Very tricky.
Yeah, like how come it's tricky? See, if you give the loan, the client doesn't pay, you should just take steps to secure the bank's interest.
Yeah,
After
sometimes you
all,
try to work with the clients, but they evade you. They give you stories. You set your reminders, you call them back, sometimes they don't answer. It's just be a lot of different things. It's a little tricky.
It is, especially if you work for a quasi government institution.
Yep.
Because, see, if you work for Bank of the Bahamas, another financial institution,
It's a little different.
yeah, even a credit union, and credit unions can get tricky too. Because,
Politics.
yeah, credit unions give loans to members, correct, credit union?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's correct.
Yes, and since credit unions give loans to members, credit unions can't just walk up on a member's head and say, pay up or we'll repossess your stuff, you stinky delinquent member.
Why not?
Why not?
You
That's how
can't.
it's done.
That's how it's done.
I know. See, but maybe, but you have to choose your members carefully. Because if you mess with the wrong member, and that member knows another member, who knows another member
Who has a little bit more clout.
on the flicking board.
That, 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 it doesn't work like that because you should encourage the next person to make that payment because it's everyone money circulating.
I
So
hear
you
you.
should want to protect your own.
I hear you loud and clear.
Again, it's tricky.
And guess what, Philip? You're right. You should want, see, that's what I like. Talk on the old school stuff. Do the job. That's how you're supposed to do it. But you'll discover that what she said about tricky is really tricky. Now,
I've experienced it several occasions already.
I know you have. Isn't that interesting?
Very.
And notice you set out to do your job exactly the way the policy says you should, didn't you?
Yep.
Yes, until you run into a political roadblock. And when I say political, I mean any type of political. Doesn't have to be like House of Parliament political. Any kind of political, be organizational political. It could be Tingamuno, Tingam, Annie, cousin, sister, Tingam political.
I'm sure you've heard of politics.
Of course.
Okay.
I hope your colleagues have heard of it. Okay. Speaking about politics, let me ask our guest from Montserrat, Walton Delali. Walton Delali,
Yeah.
you guys have this interesting kind of thing down there in Montserrat.
Say that again?
Did you hear my question?
No, not clearly.
Do you have this kind of politicking going on that interferes with your banking and your lending and other facilities at the bank? Like people interfering with how the job should be done?
I'll let Dilali answer.
Delali?
I think Mr. Blake is the better person to answer.
Oh, boy.
Say it again. Say it again, Delali.
I'm saying Walter is the better person to answer.
I agree, Delali.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't know how the hell Walter could defer it to you when he's been in this fight forever and you
Correct.
just started in this nonsense.
Correct. Correct.
Yes, yes. But let me conclude that based on our little exchange, the answer to my question is a resounding yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
why do I say that?
No
Because-
comment, no comments.
No comment, yes. Point well taken. What point I'm really making is this same credit stuff that you guys say you want to learn and all that, you'll discover that there are two sides of it. It's a Janus. On the one hand, you have the policy and procedure side, which
Mhm.
is how it ought to go.
Yes.
And then on the other hand, from time to time, you have the political side of lending and credit, which is how people tell you they want it to go. And depending on who is talking, sometimes even policies and procedures end up outside the door.
Yeah, because I found myself in a situation where we had squatters. And they still haven't gotten out as yet. This is
No,
years later.
yes, squatters are not easy to get rid of. And depending on which jurisdiction and country you live in, it's even more difficult, interestingly enough. And if only it was a matter of calling the police and having them removed, it's not that simple.
No, that's not that simple.
No, even though some of us on the outside who don't understand it think that it's so. Okay? I'll give you an example. I have a client, because I do client work, like accounting and uh, banking and credit advice and all kinds of crazy stuff like that. So I have this client who entered into an agreement with a financial institution who was selling a property, land and building that was repossessed from another customer. They accepted the deposit to hold the money because they accepted the person's bid and all this stuff. And then suddenly COVID came, so everything stopped. And then post-COVID came, so nothing started right away. So a year and a half, almost 2 years has passed with this thing in limbo, like everything else in life, including humans. We were in limbo for a long time. But suddenly, the institution who is supposed to be selling this property, repossessed property to the client, suddenly decides that the client is taking too long to get financing. After COVID, pre-COVID, post-COVID, COVID squared, COVID cubed, they said they waited all that time. Now suddenly they decided, even though the client has been telling them, I'm working on it, here's an update, here's an update. Do you want the name of the bank I'm getting this? Wait, here's an update. They've been doing all that stuff. Suddenly a letter comes from, like we say in the Bahamas, Tingham and Co. When we say Tingham and Co., what do we mean, class? What does Tingham
Mr.
mean?
Sparkus can answer.
Lisa, what does Tingham mean in Bahamianese?
You over there, anybody,
Yeah,
when you
we
can
don't,
remember
it could be anybody and we don't want you to know who it is. How's that? Okay? So Tingham and Co. writes the person who is getting financing for the COVID property, I call it COVID property, and telling them that you have 30 days to get the hell out. How's that? You have 30 days to get out. Because they think somehow, this lending institution, that it's that simple. And maybe sometimes in some instances it is, but not always. Because just how it is not easy to get rid of a squatter, how much more so you think it is going to be that easy to get rid of somebody who's been negotiating with you all through COVID for your stinky delinquent property and you holding their deposit? For those of you who are interested in credit, welcome to the real world. Of course, that doesn't take anything away from the dignified version of credit. See, credit has a dignified side. And here's the dignified side. People come in to borrow, you tell them to bring the requirements they need to qualify. Those who qualify, we approve the loan, everybody shakes hands, and everybody walks off smiling. That's the dignified side. But then there's the other side, flip side, and the other people who work in delinquency. But we won't go to delinquency too much yet. That was just like an introduction. So that those of you who are really getting into credit begin to understand already, it is not black and white. Credit
No.
is not black and white. Credit is a very gray area. You do not become proficient at credit overnight. It takes time and experience and years of work and interaction and issues and circumstances and stinky customers and kind, sweet customers and fighting with management and fighting with attorneys and fighting and smiling and fighting and smiling. See? How about that? So don't let that discourage you from getting into credit. It's not designed to discredit you at all. It's designed to encourage you to go in. It's a very exciting job. And if you find yourself in the right organization, you can find yourself being paid pretty well for this pain and suffering and smiling. How's that?
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. So welcome to credit. The other animal that we have coming on stream in the Bahamas zone on page 1 of your text is something we call a credit bureau. Anybody ever heard that? It's coming.
Yep.
It was supposed to be here already, but it's coming. And for some people, the credit bureau is going to be a nightmare. For other financial institutions, they say they love it. Now they can track customers borrowing. People can't go and borrow all over the place and lie about it anymore. They just have to call the credit bureau and get all the information on all the lying customers who are borrowing here, there, and everywhere, they say. Customers
Once
who,
it slips through the crack.
yeah, yeah. But of course, there are many customers, like C customers and D customers, they pay you this, pay you whenever they feel like it, who are going to be very sad because now they cannot move about the room precariously anymore, because now all of their credit information is going to be centralized, and the credit bureau is going to be a nightmare for such clients. But certainly for lenders, they feel it's going to be a heyday for them because now they can track people and their borrowing habits far more easily. Then I suspect with the credit bureau will come credit scores like in the United States. So eventually there'll be credit scores. If you're below a certain number, you can't borrow anymore. Your child will have to go to work instead of college because your credit is not up to par or whatever the case might be. Or you may have
Why
to
do
go.
I feel like Bahamians find a way around that?
We shall see.
And I could be wrong. That's just a feeling.
I know. And some people will find a way. In fact, some people are going to find a direct way. They can just go to somebody they know and say, I need. And then somebody they know are going to pick up the phone and call and say, give. And then the person who call, then the hell with credit bureau, credit rating, and the whole 9 yards. All that stuff will only apply to the regular folk like us. So, like everywhere in the world, some people will get away with murder, quote unquote. And the rest of us have to go through the pain and suffering of the policy, the standard, the requirements, okay? That sort of thing.
Mr. Wilkinson,
Yes.
who will regulate the credit bureau? Like, who will watch the credit bureau? I ask him because let's just say, like, who will stop people from like leaking information or because
Yeah. Yes. Unfortunately, it is my understanding that a foreign institution will be administering the credit bureau initially.
so
That
they can
will-
have all our information. So they can have all our information.
all our information. I don't know if it's going to be offshore or onshore, doesn't matter. The fact is, they're going to have it.
So this credit bureau can be like knowing like your light bill, your water bill, your cable bill, all that type of information, too, your phone bill.
Potentially as much as is required for them to monitor the credit that is out there for each person, and to come up when credit scores eventually come up to determine what their credit scores will be. As a matter of fact,
That's invasive, man. not
it's
invasive.
gonna get very interesting, like in Europe, in the United States, and Canada. I have a son who works in New York, and he said to me the other day, he said, Dad, I went to pay down my credit card the other day, and then the next day I got a notice from the credit bureau saying that my score went down by 5% or something for paying down the credit card. I'm like, really? So where's the legal reference for that? I said, did they give you a reason? Shouldn't they be happy you're paying it down? He said they gave me no reason. In fact, when you call them, you can't reach them. Who do you get? AI, the phone, a message. This is the credit department. If you're calling about your credit, hang up. We've already made the decision that your score will be reduced by 20 points, whatever the case might be. I'm just being a little facetious, but that's what happens. The point I'm making is these things are real. An interesting statistic came up since we're talking about bureaus and ratings and all this stuff. They have come up with this statistic in the United States that over 100 million Americans have poor credit scores. Imagine that. 100 million. There are only 300 million Americans, roughly. 100 million of them or less are children. That means out of the 200 million people who are working, so to speak, half of them have poor credit. How the hell did that happen and when?
Some of those children have bad credit too. Come on.
Children?
Some of the children have bad credit too. You know that.
Being children under 18?
Because their parents use their ID. And
People,
they push pretty numbers.
people are still doing that nonsense?
Yes, they are.
Yep.
Yes, people are continuing to do more and new and improved nonsense as well. Absolutely. Poor children. It's just like a child growing up in a home and nobody teaches the child how to read, and suddenly they're grown up and can't read a line. And they then start panicking. Their hearts start to beat like, what the hell? What happened? All because
So-
their parents didn't make sure they learned how to read.
So if the country, like you say, 100 million people have a credit score, that means the country, that shows like the country in debt, kind of, sort of.
Yeah, kind of, sort of. There are a lot of implications as a result of that statistic. That is not a healthy statistic for any country. Luckily for the United States, because their GDP and some other things are kicking and they can print money whenever they want and so on, they can kind of survive that. But for other countries, it's not quite the same. Okay? A lot of people are suffering more than they appear to be because of these kinds of situations, and it's a very gray area. Okay? 100 million people plus with poor credit scores, that's terrible. Something is wrong either with the credit system, the people, or the credit scores. And I suggest that it's a combination of all three. But who do you go to fix it? That is another story. Okay. All right. So we haven't even gotten up page one yet in terms of my discussion. Well, we have, but not yet. And suddenly we have all of these credit issues abounding, falling at our feet. Suddenly it's not black and white, it's gray. Okay. So when you go in for a line of credit, you're going in to borrow, let's say, for example, credit takes many different forms. If it's a consumer credit for a car, you might get the car for 3 to 5 to 7 years. I understand some banks these days, post-COVID, are giving you 9 years for some reason. I know the reason, but that's weird, even though I know the reason. But the point is, you go in, you make this arrangement, you start making installment payments. Hopefully everything goes well for 3 to 5 to 7 to 9 years. You pay off the loan, and you still have a car in pretty good condition, hopefully. Or it might be property or a mortgage or whatever the case might be. So basically, we have all these different kinds of credits, including business loans. Some businesses go in for loans to buy inventory. Some go in to get an overdraft facility to cover overruns when they run short of cash. That, by the way, overdrafts are a form of loan, in case you didn't know it. They also attract very high rates of interest. When you get an overdraft, don't presume that you're getting rid of murder. You are being murdered. Okay? Overdraft interest rates can range anywhere from 16 to 20 to 22%, depending on the financial institution monthly. Okay? And so you should only seek to get an overdraft facility, which is a loan, when you absolutely must have one, preferably for business purposes, to cover cash shortages. And like many other companies who go in and get loans and overdrafts, they tend to have the overdraft far longer than they should, because once they get the overdraft, they never get back into credit again. the cash flow continues to suffer. They rely on the overdraft and they end up having it for years and years and years and paying tens of thousands of zillions of dollars in overdraft interest fees alone. But that's another topic. But it's not another topic that is devoid or apart from lending. Because when a lender gives an overdraft to a borrower and they get stuck in it, then it means that somewhere along the way, the lender needs to be in a position to try and educate that borrower who got the overdraft and say, John, we gave you this a year ago. You're only supposed to have it for 3 months. What's going on? What's going on with your business? You're not generating sufficient cash yet to pay this overdraft off and put your account back into credit. John, Mary, the two of you. Okay. So even that aspect of it is part of the lender's job suddenly. When you guys do part 2, for example, you'll see that lenders oftentimes have to read financial statements to see whether or not the company they gave $3 million to last year, or $500,000, $100,000 to, perform sufficiently enough to pay their loan and will be in business long enough to continue paying the loan by reviewing the financial statement to see if it makes sense. So this lending thing suddenly is a whole other animal that has a whole lot of things involved in it, depending on what kind of credit you're doing. And remember, there's all kinds of different types of credit: consumer, business and commercial, mortgage loans, all kinds of credit, trade credit, where companies do business between each other, all kinds of credit, and overdraft facilities. And so depending on the type of institution you work for, even in trust arrangements, trustees sometimes give credit to their beneficiaries of the trust. Imagine that. Credit is everywhere. Interesting. Underlying companies in a trust borrow money or lend money either to the beneficiaries, or the beneficiaries agree to lend money to the underlying company with a promise to repay, so that the beneficiary's money can go back into the account of the beneficiary. So credit is everywhere. Strange. Okay. So you guys who are out there in the world of credit, thinking about it, I cannot say it enough. It's very dynamic, very interesting work. Okay? No matter what aspect of credit you find yourself. Okay? So you can get a consumer credit, a line of credit, a revolving credit, for example, or you can get a credit line where you only use it, for example, if you need it. If you don't need it this month, don't use it. If you need $5,000 out of a $10,000 line, or $5 million out of a $10 million line, only when you need it. It's called a line of credit. Once you use it, you try to pay it off as quickly as possible. Okay? Just like any other type of loan. All right. Credit cards. That's a form of borrowing, in case you didn't know. Don't let that credit card fool you while you're swiping and taking it to the max. Just know you're borrowing money. Not only you're borrowing money, but you're borrowing money at very high rates of interest. Yeah. The interest on credit card debt is extremely high. Keep that in mind. Nothing wrong with a credit card if it's used responsibly. As a matter of fact, the world is getting to a place where if you don't have a debit or credit card, you won't be able to function. A couple of weeks ago, I went to see my other son who's in Toronto. I go to the airport. The baggage fee will be $55. This is me pulling out cash. He said, "Oh, I'm sorry. We don't accept cash at the National International Airport anymore. You need a card, Mr. Wilkinson." And here I am being the devil's advocate. And if I don't have a card, and she gave me that look like, what do you think the look was?
Your luck suck.
Yeah. Too bad for you if you don't have a card. Get the hell off the line. I said, so you don't, I said, I'm being the devil's advocate. You see, when you get to my age, you be the devil's advocate even more. I said, you mean you won't take my cash? And I'm reaching for my wallet. You won't take the cash? She said, no, sir. I said, my money's not good here anymore. She said, yes, if it's in the form of a what? So she forced me to put my cash back if I wanted to leave that desk to go to the other stinky folks called immigration. She forced me to put my cash back and find a card. Luckily, I had one. Otherwise, I'd have to be turned away. Okay, see, credit card. So every time you flip that card, that's fine, as long as you're acting responsibly, because that credit card represents debt. And one of the biggest debt issues that exist in the US and other countries is credit card debt. People don't only owe a few $1,000s on credit cards anymore. Some people owe tens of thousands of credit card debt. And at 18 to 20% interest, unless you have a plan, you probably will never pay it off. Because unless you have a plan or you win the lottery or something, it's designed to keep you stuck. So again, that kind of credit must be managed what? Responsibly. Okay. So when you go back in the financial institution next time and say, excuse me, would you like a credit card? And you're like, I have one already. 2 wouldn't hurt, maybe not. But just know that credit card represents debt. Okay. Whether you believe it or not. Question for this class. What is a home equity loan? Anybody knows? Home equity loan.
Isn't that where you paid up your mortgage up to a certain point, or you your house is worth more than the money you want to borrow, but you use the house as a surety? I'm not sure.
That's a part of the home equity loan process, and it's a very interesting part that comes up later in the process. The front end of a home equity loan is when somebody owns a home and, for example, they've had the home, let's say, for 10 or 15 years, and now they have some equity in the home, meaning that they've made loan payments for 10 or 15 years. So the home is now valued at $200,000 on the market. The loan itself is only $125,000, and they have equity of $75,000, which means that that $75,000 is what they actually own in that home. The rest is still owned by home.
I'm gonna need you to repeat that again.
Okay, here's how it works. Here's how equity works. You go to the bank in day one, you and your husband or just you, because a lot of people are not going with spouses anymore, like buy my own house. But whoever goes in to get the home loan, let's say you bought the home for $150,000. So your mortgage starts off at $150,000. That's what you're paying your mortgage payment on. You live in the home for about 10, 15 years. So you pay about let's say you pay about $50,000. Okay. After 10 or 15 years, the value on your home after the appraisal, for whatever reason, is now $200,000, because properties tend to do what? Appreciate normally in value. Now, your property is appraised at $200,000, but your loan balance at the financial institution is $120,000. Okay? That means that the difference between your loan.
Did the volume stop for everybody?
Say it again. What's the question?
I think she having technical difficulties.
Yeah. So yeah. Lisa, are you there? Yeah,
Yes,
so what was your question again?
No, my volume dipped for some reason.
Okay, yeah, so now 10 years later, your property is worth $200,000 on appraisal. You owe the bank $120,000. So the difference between the appraised value of $200,000 and how much you owe the bank, which is $120,000, that's $80,000. That $80,000 is your equity. That makes sense?
Yes.
It's your equity because that is what you own in that deal so far. Okay? That means that if you decide to sell your house the same day for $200,000, then all you need to pay the bank is what? 120,000, because the other 80,000 is for you. Because that's the amount that you actually own in the property. Okay? Now, yeah. Now, you obviously don't necessarily want to sell our homes all the time. We just keep increasing our equity, because remember, every payment we make on our property loan, we're increasing our equity. So if you have $80,000 in equity and something comes up, somebody gets sick and you need to borrow $20,000 for medical, because doctors, hospitals say they will not see you without a $20,000 down payment or something. So you panic and you have to borrow $20,000. You can go to the bank and say, I have 80,000 in equity. I'd like to borrow $20,000 more. So now your equity goes from 80,000 to 60,000, because now you have to add 20,000 to your loan. Does everybody get that?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's how the equity thing works. Okay. So when we talk about a home equity line of credit, we're saying your ability to borrow against whatever equity you have in your home, if you have any at all. Some people, their mortgages are so new that after 3 to 5 years, they don't have any equity yet, because the first set of your mortgage payment goes to interest mostly, and you don't start paying down on principal until maybe year 10, depending on how long your mortgage is going to run for. So in the first few years, you don't really develop any equity. So if your house is valued at 200,000 and your loan is 190,000, you only have a stinky 10,000 equity, which won't get you very far if you need to borrow another 30 or $40,000. Okay, so that's how it works. And believe it or not, a lot of people own homes and they don't understand how that works. Okay, a lot of people are being sued, and when this question of equity comes up, a lot of people don't understand what that means. Okay, and if people are ignorant about these things, sometimes they can be taken advantage of. And that's where our lawyers are supposed to be able to come in and clear things up. Now, if we have one lawyer who's informed, but they are operating on the side of the stinky side, like egging up the other person for some reason, because they represent, and then the other lawyer is not sufficiently knowledgeable enough and they're defending that client, then that client will not get the kind of defense they deserve, because the plaintiff on the other side has a lawyer who understands some of this crap, and the defense has a lawyer who doesn't understand some of this crap. And so from the very beginning, that defendant is in trouble, unfortunately. So you can easily see why somebody like, say, Lisa would come in and listen into this thing, because she has an interest. It's in her interest to understand some of this crappy stuff. Not crappy, I just say that so you can remember. Okay? This is very crazy dynamic stuff. Okay? So
It happens every day.
Go ahead.
I said that happens every day.
Absolutely. All right. So when you hear somebody say they're a loan officer, a credit officer, a loan manager, and all that stuff, don't presume that they're having a ball, drinking martinis all day and with no stress. Furthest thing from the truth. All kinds of things are going on, depending on the type of lender you are. No matter what type of lender you are, all things are still going on. Okay? All right. So all that stuff already, and we're still like on not too far into this stuff. There's a whole lot of stuff. Makes you even want like, are we gonna get through all this crazy stuff? Well, we're gonna keep plowing it like hell until the end. Okay, because there's a lot of interesting, crazy things to be aware of in the world of credit. No matter where you work, what type of work you do, whether you're a lender, borrower, collector, doesn't matter. Okay, whole lot of interesting stuff, as you can see. Okay, now the credit score, we talked about that earlier. I'm sure some of you have heard about the credit scoring system in the United States. Credit scoring companies like FICO and others, they come up with, they look at people's credit history, they get information from financial institutions, and they decide what your credit score will be. And they determine what is high, medium, and low. And once they determine it, dog eat your lunch. Interestingly enough, my understanding is some of these credit rating companies are actually paid by financial institutions, which is interesting. Uh, it's just like Standard and Poor and those guys who come up with credit ratings for countries and large companies. Many of them are paid by the large companies that they rate. How the hell you can be paid by the company you're rating? Is that a conflict of interest?
Yep.
Definitely.
Of course. But who the hell cares if nobody's dealing with it? So what if it's a conflict of interest? So when Standard and Poor and Moody says the Bahamas have been downgraded to a junk bond or whatever, they'd be like, really now? And then the other company that's paying them somewhere in the United States or somewhere else in the world says, oh, you're up by 8 triple plus that plus. And if you keep the money coming, you'll add some more pluses.
Mhm.
I know it's absurd. It seems almost unbelievable, but it is true. These things are real. And since nobody is fighting them, dealing with them, afraid to touch it, because sometimes when you start touching stuff like that, all kinds of crazy things happen to the person who's touching it. How about that? Just like on TV. This stuff is not just academic. This stuff is real. You start messing with this credit score thing and how things work, might end up like some folk in China and never hear anything from you again. Be like, something happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's like on TV, believe it or not. Okay. All right.
That's what the media message.
Yeah, it's kind of spooky, actually. Okay. But they're coming up with these credit scores and they come up with what they come up with based on their criteria. They weigh them, this percent for this, that percent for the other thing. They look at your credit history and assign it a percentage. How many loans you've had and assign a percentage, where you work, how much you make, all kinds of crazy stuff, whether you're married or single, whatever their criteria is. And it differs depending on the entity. And it's not always easy to find out what their criteria is because you try to call them, you get AI, voicemail. And if you do get somebody, they're not interested in discussing how they arrive at your score. You don't believe me? Talk to somebody in one of the Western countries. And I say Western because Eastern countries do they have credit scores? I don't think so. Like, how do you qualify for a loan in China, anyone? Anybody knows? You don't
Be a
know.
third world country.
Sorry?
I said be a third world country. They'll lend you money. I was being facetious.
You're correct.
No, facetious but true.
Right here.
Because a whole lot of us are stuck. You're not too far from the truth. Because yeah, certain countries are giving us all kinds of loans and we're taking all kinds of photo shoots by the beach, waving hats, while we keep borrowing all this money.
Oh, Lord.
See, now we have another credit situation. Governmental credit. See? Man, you could hardly get past page 3 with all the stuff already. See my point? This credit thing is crazy. So while you guys are reading this stuff, read it with an open mind and with interest because there's so many dynamic things going on. Look at what we've talked about already. And it's already doggone 8:45. But see my point? Credit is so convoluted, so dynamic, so unpredictable. See, governmental credit now, the borrowing by governments of the world, lending to governments of the world. That's a whole different monster. So those of you who are giving car loans, thank God. Shake hands, smile, and they don't pay repossess and call it that. But not repossess. I'm just being facetious. Don't repossess right away. Find out why they're not paying, and then if they continue and all like that, follow the right thing. But you get my point.
May I ask a question? Are there any credit and collections persons in this group, in this class?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Why do you ask?
I want to ask an aside. This is a situation. This is an actual situation. The
Yeah.
husband died, and he has a car that he bought for his wife.
Right.
The wife says, hey, I'm only waiting to get my grant of probate so that I can get the insurance money and I will pay off the loan. But the bank comes and possesses the vehicle. Why?
Well, did she tell the bank this?
Yes.
Aha, that's a good question. You see, the bank will probably, and again, see, every situation is so unique.
Is she telling the truth and the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I
Well,
was there, told them that.
well, see, yeah, see, what happens is this.
Maybe some things were already in motion.
Maybe, but not
He died in
necessarily.
December. He died in December. The payments were current. And in, I want to say March, they repossessed the vehicle.
Or
Of this year?
Yes, he
And
died
the-
in December and they repossessed the vehicle, I think maybe 3 months later.
now,
And she was current? Lawsuit.
When he died, yes.
well,
Lawsuit.
the question is this. She would have come in and told the lender that there's a probate pending, and when she gets the money, she'll pay.
Yes, because I had to write to the bank asking
Of
about
course.
his,
Of course, and so therefore, the lender, being the shrewd institution that it is, will verify that data, wouldn't they?
they did, but they still repossessed.
I know, I'm getting to something. They
Okay,
did verify.
yes,
Some lawyer said, it's the truth, it's in probate, it's eminent. True?
yes,
Okay. Theoretically, unless the financial institution had some reason to think that somebody would skip and run off to Andros or somewhere Long Island with the car and hide it, whatever, theoretically, they should not have repossessed. The question
that's
is,
what I thought.
the
Thought it was
question,
unreasonable.
yeah,
I thought they were unreasonable.
yes. The question
Somebody,
is,
brother, sister, cousin, friend, auntie.
well, I'm getting to that stinky.
Yeah, that's all it
political
is.
aspect. Once you verify that the probate is imminent, why and what was the reason given for the repossession? That's the tricky part. Now,
They would have to
who,
give me 3 cars when they were done. 3.
She decided she didn't want to pursue it. She bought a brand new car, cash.
my. Because the loan was in his name, yes?
Yes,
See, not her name.
no, right, correct.
So the bank put itself in jeopardy as well by not waiting. Because here's what happens. When they repossess the car, chances are the value of that car on
They probably
resale
won't get what it's worth
will not cover the
or what it's
balance.
owed.
No. Absolutely. And now they will still have to try and go after his what? Estate to see if they could recover the balance.
Like I say, somebody, auntie, cousin, sister, brother, friend.
Unfortunately. And again, who's in the middle of all this mess? A lender and or collector or both. See? Welcome to the world of credit and collections. There's nothing straightforward about it under the sun. And anybody who thinks so, they're ignorant, meaning they don't know what's going on. And that's okay. That's most of the world, except for persons who are in this thing. So if you're like Lisa, all of a sudden Lisa doesn't finish her first class and she's way ahead of a whole lot of people just because she took the initiative to come and sit down and listen to this thing. Now, by the time
I've got my nightmares about some of the stuff, credit and collections to win banks.
yes, and vice versa.
Right.
Yeah.
I can, but I mean, there are people who are homeless who have paid off mortgages.
They're homeless?
Hmm.
How did that happen?
We shall move on. We could
I
be here
know.
all.
I know, Lisa, it happens. And it happens because of the same crappy reasons that the car was repossessed unnecessarily. Because people are always running some flicking program at the expense of other suffering people. It stinks.
Agreed.
Yeah. I could say that now. My children are grown. One isn't the hell of a. So, see, when your children are growing up, you can't say certain things. Then you can't feed your children because you say the truth. But it stinks. We need to, wherever it is in the world. See, I'm not just saying here, it's everywhere. It's in every country. We have these crazy things happening where people suffer unnecessarily. And the credit world, like so many other areas of the world, is no different. People suffer a lot unnecessarily because they're not told the truth, because somebody's politicking, because somebody already planned to give it to Tingham, who promised it to Tingham. Man, okay, let's keep moving. As you can see, some of this crazy stuff is not in academia. It's not in your notes, because academia
No.
talk about the romantic side of it, correct?
Correct.
Yes. Academics, we discuss the romantic side of it, how it ought to be done, how it should be done, how the policy should be followed. That's what we're discussing in the text. But for anybody who's been in the real world, as you can see already, even if you've not been in the real world, when you leave this class tonight, you will never be the same as far as this stuff is concerned. And this is only a tip of the iceberg. And when we're done, it'll only be a tip of the iceberg. Okay. So if you look on page 3, you'll see how credit scores are done. Like Pico, they have their own little thing going on. If your score is between 8 and 850, excellent. They say between 740 and 799, it's very good. I wonder what happens if it's 798. Anybody? You go from very, you go from very good to what? I don't know. Yeah. Okay, let's see what poor is between 300 and 579. My. So according to FICO, on average, if your score is between 300 and 579, you have very poor credit scores, and therefore no lender will touch you. You will have to know somebody to get a loan. How do they arrive at these scores? Well, they say they use credit history, previous credit, type of loan, type of job, how long you've been on the job, income, assets in your possession, assets that you don't have, and so on. They say money in the bank, no money in the bank, all these different things they say, but we don't really know for sure. And anybody tries to ask them will not get an answer. Wow. Okay. And so when we look at what is the credit bureau, we get some more detail later on. There they go. The data collected includes, everybody see that on page 3? A long list of stuff, your repayment history, the amount of credit that you have available and in use. How long have you been borrowing? What type of credit or loans do you have or have had? How many credit inquiries have been made on your behalf with a view to borrowing more money or getting a credit card or other credit card? Okay? These are all the things they say that they collect. And these are the things that the credit bureau in the Bahamas will be collecting on us. Do you have any bankruptcies, foreclosures, liens, or taxes? You know the government any money? Speaking about taxes, did you guys hear the most recent thing on taxes? Since this is a credit and collection class?
No.
No. Because a good thing you're in this class, because here's what's going to happen. The director of Inland Revenue, Mrs. John, said recently that Inland Revenue will be making provisions soon to instruct banks to charge anybody who has an outstanding balance with real property tax, no matter what the hell it is. They will be required, the bank will be instructed to charge it to the customer's loan account and pay off the balance of real property. So if you owe real property $15,000 and you're a hardworking hotelier or some other regular person, Under that instruction, if it happens, the bank will automatically add $15,000 or whatever your balance is at your property to your mortgage, interest included, which means that you're going to have a whole new kind of problem unless you can make an arrangement with the bank to pay off that amount sooner rather than later. Because if you don't, it will sit on your mortgage accruing interest.
Well, what's the reason for that? Why?
Yes.
The reason is the government said it wants its money, and therefore the government has the authority in law to instruct the bank to charge your account and pay off their real property tax. How about that? And if you don't
That's
like
what
it,
okay, what do you do what do they do if they own your land, you own your land?
what do you mean own it?
You don't own your
Yeah.
land.
There are a
That's
lot
what
of
he's
people
saying.
that own their property and do not pay taxes.
Oh, if you don't have a mortgage, you mean?
Yes.
Well, if you don't have a mortgage and you owe property taxes, they should have done what they should have done 40 years ago.
Sell it.
Yeah, especially people who are rich and who owe taxes. How's that?
Yeah, but those are the people who drive around saying, you know who I am.
Look, I don't want you to say that. I know that. That's the problem.
They
I'm
get caught,
saying-
and then the rest of us get caught up in the bureaucracy of it.
Yeah, and the bureaucracy is simple. If you have a mortgage, they can charge it. If you don't like it, too bad. And if you don't have a mortgage and you owe it and you don't pay, they can foreclose on you, sell your property. How about that?
It's a cold world. It's cold out there. This credit collection is
not-
cold.
not-
It's a cold
It's
world.
not cold, it's getting colder.
Jeez.
That's already on the books, but I doubt that they will do that because while their rich friends don't pay their taxes, the poor people are the voters. So
That's okay. Poor people were voters before.
22,
Listen,
their vote only counts every 5 years though.
yes, we are king for a day and slave for the rest of the time.
That's real. Oh, that's real. That's real. I like that.
Unfortunately. Okay?
King
And-
said, hey.
And
Hey.
that is one of the reasons. Look, when I was a younger man, like 40 and 50 and all that stuff, people, oh, Mr. Wilkinson, why don't you run for office? I said, simple, because I wouldn't last 5 minutes. Because see, there's certain things I will not condone. And then they're gonna get mad at me and have somebody lick me in my head with a conch shell. And then who's gonna look after my children? And my wife, see?
Dramatic.
Yeah. And so it was better for me to stay away from it because my problem is whenever I get into an environment, I need to fix stuff. See, that's my problem. I can't just sit in it and see it wrong and say, well, I don't see it. And I won't last too long because most organizations, countries, institutions, blah, 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 don't really want it fixed. Not really. So if you thought you were a lender and you were just giving a check with a smile, think again. You have all these issues to deal with. And now lenders in the Bahamas have a brand new animal coming in called the Credit Bureau with a mandate that Bahamians have never seen before. And so automatically, when all of that is done, there'll be some Bahamians who will be disqualified immediately who are normally able to get a loan by hook or by crook. My. Welcome to the real world of lending. Okay? Wow.
Silence us. You silence us, Mr. Wilkinson. You silence
Are
us.
you youngsters of the future? This is not intended to discourage you, just to keep you informed because you are growing up into a different era in many, many different ways. And credit and collections is no different. It is also changing. The environment around you is changing. And these are all parts and parcel of the whole issue. Okay? So it's not just about giving a car loan. It's not just about running somebody down and say, "Boy, your payment is due. When are you gonna pay?" It's a whole lot more, okay, for sure. Now, watch this. In most credit bureaus, they say borrowers are entitled to view their credit report. Okay. Every 12 months, free of charge. The reason why they say free of charge, because some organizations charge you if you want to see your credit details. Some of them are so brazen that if you want to see your credit detail, they'll downgrade you a little bit by wanting to see it, because they want, the question is indirectly, well, why do you want to see it? Are you up to no good? Are you up to something? We're going to downgrade it by 20 points. They don't give any explanation. You try and get it, they ignore you. And if you get on their nerves by persisting, they might downgrade it by another 30 points without telling you any reason. How about that? So when poor people discover one day in the future that that balance that they owe for 7,000, 10,000, 23,000 is going to be charged to their mortgage, and now they have a new problem to deal with, it's going to be a nightmare for them. I'm not worried about rich people. They can pay. They always were able to pay. My concern is us and Tingham them. Remember Tingham in the bush? That's us, regular folk. As usual, we are always okay. My. So then what is credit history? Remember, credit bureaus, we're looking at the credit history to come up with your credit score. Credit history is something that bank lenders look at all the time to determine whether you should get a loan or not. So what is credit history? Well, roll down onto page 4 and you'll see. Our credit history is a record of how you managed your credit over the years. How much did you borrow? Did you overborrow? Did you pay on time? Were you always late? How many lines of credit did you get? For what purpose? Did you pay on time? Did you pay on time? Did you pay on time? See? Your history. So if you want to drive and you have a history of alcoholism, you probably won't get a license. Credit history is like that. You want credit, and some of these things are in negative, chances are you will not get credit. And when the bureau comes, it's going to make it even more difficult. When the bureau comes, much more difficult. Because a lot of people who are like C and D rated, they can say, hey, I know I don't pay on time, but I do pay. And the truth is they do. And sorry? Yeah, so when their credit scores come through, it's
I
not
have,
gonna.
I have a question.
Yes, question, Walter.
In terms of the credit history, whether it's a good, if you have a good credit history or a bad, you borrowed a loan, say for $5,000 over a year.
Yes.
You pay it back in about 3 months' time.
Yes.
Whereas a person borrowed that same 5,000 and they pay at the scheduled time until it's finished, say a year. Which of the two scenarios you usually have a better credit history?
Walter, it's not a trick question. It's a very serious question, and I'm so happy you raised it. Now, before I answer your question, Walter, we're going to put it to the floor and see what your colleagues say.
Okay.
You guys heard Walter. Which of the two should have the better credit history?
They both should be the same.
That's interesting. They both should be the same. Very interesting. Any other takers?
The one that paid off in 3 months, you weren't required to pay off in that time.
No.
That was a personal choice.
I think the one who paid it off at the regular schedule, because that's somebody they know.
Yes, you can
That's
show
just
the
a
credit
customer.
worthiness.
I don't know. Yeah, like, but if you pay it off for 4 times, they feel like, I don't think they really can like that.
Right.
Because they don't accrue the interest on it, right?
They know how to pay.
Well,
Yeah, lending institutions make their monies from interest. So of course, they're gonna charge you a penalty fee for paying off early. But I mean, they didn't really make any money on that loan.
it's interesting. Yes, you're all correct. But it took that very fundamental question to get us thinking about what's really going on. Because in reality, you might think that the person who paid it off earlier should have the better credit rating and people should be happier with that person. They paid it off before the maturity date.
That was
But
their
in,
choice though.
but in essence, as far as credit bureaus are concerned, and even financial institutions, they are not excited about the person who pays it early.
No,
Long term, they like long term.
Right.
Not necessarily
because they
long,
make their money from
No.
interest.
they're not necessarily long term. They just want you to pay it within the agreed term
Mm.
for two reasons. One,
Interest.
if you're a lender, you want all the interest to be earned, not some.
Yeah.
You are a credit bureau, you cannot make a definitive statement on the credit worthiness of a customer who does not run the full gamut.
Right.
They are a suspect, even though even though they might be sincere, because they're paying it off early so they can save money, maybe. But the bank doesn't necessarily want you to save money. The bank wants to make money. What the hell are you doing paying it off early to save money?
Or they get an ace who draw.
No, whatever you pay it off with, they don't want that.
I know.
Because the bank wants to make all of its accrued interest that it's planned for, interest income. And the credit bureau wants to see the full term to say, you can hack it out until the end. You're proven to be responsible. Every month you paid it on or before the due date. You proof of your responsibility. But that person who pays off early, man, the bureau is very suspicious of them, even though they may be quite legitimate. And okay, and what they do, they're gonna get a poor upper credit score from many bureaus. Fascinating thing. Not only is that fascinating, Walter, damn good question, but in addition to that, when you pay it off early, and then next year you go in for another loan, the lender's not gonna be happy about giving you a loan.
That's right.
They say, wait a minute, it's Walter again? Didn't he pay it off in 3 months as opposed to 5 years? We don't have time to waste with somebody who's paying it off early. Let him go pay for it in cash. We're not making any money from Walter, correct?
Give them a high interest rate loan.
Yes. And that happens with many people because people need the money what? Dead bad. And most of us who are poor, working class, lower middle class people, whatever we might be, most of us can't even find the money to pay it off early. Because if we find extra money, we're not paying off any loan. We have too many other things to do to pay off the loan early. Hell no. And this is where lenders make a whole bunch of money because they want clients to pay it out to the end for obvious reasons. The interest rates are high. They want to make the full return on their quote unquote investment. And credit bureaus like people who stay the course.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Okay. So you could find yourself you paying off loans early or paying off credit cards even. Like I paid off my credit card, and then come to find out your credit score fall by 60 points. Like, what the hell? I paid it off. And they're like, really? What are you doing paying it off? We want you to stay the course, keep that card going, keep that 18 to 20% alive and well. Strange irony. Okay? And so we as individuals have to be keen, aware, informed to the best of our ability. And even then, sometimes all of that doesn't get our hands out of the lion's mouth before it comes down, depending on the situation. Okay. Notice real property tax didn't even say, you know what? We'll open up a collections area and make arrangements for people to pay. We won't add it to the loans of working class people because they're already struggling with a mortgage to begin with. They're not saying that. They had some version of that, but now they've grown tired apparently. They want to take the easy route, charge it to the loan, let the customers suffer. If they lose their home, too bad, find a way to pay it. find a way to do whatever the hell it is. Just give us our money down at property tax. So governments work sometimes. Okay? Will people remember that next election? Maybe, but not necessarily. Because voters are a strange group of people as well. That's the other problem. All right. So there you go. When you're reading that stuff on credit scores and bureaus and so on, credit history, just keep all those interesting things in mind. At the bottom of page 4, you'll see that they tell you up front, you know, little feel good story, good credit history makes it easier for you to borrow. That's true. While bad credit makes it difficult. That's true too. As a matter of fact, I have noticed in the United States, for example, when they're doing commercials about fixing bad credit and not needing a credit score to get a credit card, they always seem to use people of color for those ads. I wonder why. Is that a coincidence?
No.
What are they trying to tell the viewers, you think?
They've said it, they're not trying.
They're not trying. They're
They've
saying
said it.
They've said
openly
it openly.
that the majority of people with poor credit, no credit, low credit score and all that
People of color. Oh
And
my.
then as yeah. So see, credit is in everything, even in the culture, even in the race issue. Credit is everywhere. See my point? It's what we call pervasive. And most people think it's just giving a check and running off with the asset that you got the loan for. And if you don't pay, it gets repossessed. That's what most people think credit and collections is. Piece of cake. No under the sun can involve all these scenarios that you guys have raised and we've discussed that Walter has raised about who's the better credit person. You'd think the person who paid it off sooner be him or her. Hell no. Even that person who paid it off early might end up in shock to find that their credit score has gone down because of that heroic act of paying it off early. Okay? Fascinating. All right, fascinating. All right. If you have a history of not paying your bills on time, we're not making excuses for people because there are some people who don't pay on time just for the hell of it. They don't have any problem. They just go to Miami, go to Montserrat, go Walter those are, go to St. Kitts, go down to the Caribbean, go to Florida, whatever, just spend the loan payment, have a ball. And they worry about the loan payment when they get to it. So you have those people.
What do you think about this? There is a particular client. She has a relatively new mortgage. And whenever you print your arrears report, she would be on the arrears report. And you would call her.
Yeah.
And you would say, Miss Jean, you know, what's happening with your payment? And she'll say, oh, okay. I totally forgot about that. How much do I owe?
Yes.
And you say, well, you owe $5. And she'll say, okay, I'm gonna go to the bank and pay that now. And she'll go to the bank and she'll pay it and she'll come and bring you the receipt.
Absolutely. And
that's crazy.
It is totally crazy. What's even more crazy is if you think that's crazy, imagine that punk who went and shot those little children the other day.
Oh God.
I just throw that in for reality check. Yeah, we have many customers like that, believe it or not. In delinquency, I think I have something in the note somewhere that describes that type of customer.
But the funny thing about it is, it's not as if she doesn't have the money. She has the money. She just, I don't know.
Tony,
she would pay when we call her.
Tony,
which is crazy.
Listen to me. People have the money a lot more times than you think. Even people you've loaned money to personally, like, Tony, can I borrow $300? I swear I'll pay you next week when I get paid, when I get my ASU, when I win the lottery round, the town lottery, whatever. And this is my rent money. I know, but I your sister, I was your friend. I can pay you. What's wrong with you? You don't trust me? And so you give in and you give that person the money. Next week,
When the time come, they act mad.
or any number of other things. And oftentimes, when you finally catch up with them, they have your money in their purse and still wouldn't give it to you. They'll still make an excuse like, I don't have it. I swear. God knows it. The child was sick again. Mummy fall down, whatever it is. And they
Out
have
there,
it,
the donkey sick.
yes, and they have it in their pocketbooks as they speak, refusing to give it to you until you insist, threaten, or until they feel like it. How about that? Welcome to the world of credit and collections. And this is only the what? Individual side of it. Imagine what happens on the what? Corporate side, trade side. That's a whole different animal in credit, in the gazillions of dollars. My. All right. So we're going to stop there. I think you guys have been more than great. I've already gone over the time. When we come back next Wednesday, please go ahead now that you have your notes, start reading like hell ahead. We're going to jump right back into this stuff because between now and the following week or so, we have a whole lot of material to cover. And so if you're read up, it'll make it far less difficult for you to keep up and stay in tune. The material is not difficult. You just have to stay on top of it, stay ahead of your reading, try to get up to, 10, 15, 20 pages for next session. They're not hard. You'll get through them pretty easily. Make your notes as you go. Anything that looks interesting, start making notes. Don't wait until week number 3, just before test time. Like, okay, I'll start reading and making notes now. Don't do that. Start doing that tomorrow into this weekend and stay on top of it. If you do that, you cannot go wrong. There'll be no surprises in my examination. It will be based entirely on the information you have and that we discussed. Okay? Any questions before we break? Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful.
I haven't
So
seen the email as yet, so I don't know if you sent the correct.
that you mean for the research paper?
Yes.
That's interesting, Marissa.
Do you have 2 N's and the number 6 in that?
I'm going to tell you right now. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to forward it again. Forward. Research paper. Okay. Marissa,
Yes.
let's see. Your email begins with what, Marissa?
It's MYKENANN, the number 6 at yahoo.com.
MYKEN.
MYKENANN.
That's interesting. That's exactly what I sent the last time. You didn't get it? Okay,
No.
let me try it again. Doesn't matter
Okay.
if it's capital or small.
All of them are they lowercase. Yeah.
Okay. MYKEN.
Mm-hmm.
KENANN.
Mm-hmm. KENANN.
at 6.
No, just number 6 at Yahoo.
I mean the number 6.
At Yahoo.com.
Yahoo. Okay.
Mhm.
This is like credit collections unpredictable. That's interesting.
Well, I have got the email from Miss Dean and from Mr. Pratt, but I ain't see nothing from you.
MYKENANN. It's the number 6 at
Mhm.
Yahoo. Okay, I'm
Mhm.
gonna say it again. Let me know if you get it.
Okay.
Okay, that's interesting. All right, while Marissa waits, does anybody have any other questions about any of the issues that we discussed? All right, wonderful. Well, go ahead and have a great and safe week. Remember, COVID is not over. It's still out there, so please be safe. And I'll see you guys next week, Wednesday. Remember, start reading ahead, start making your notes, whatever you do to prepare so that you can stay ahead of the game. If you do that, you will be fine. Okay? So you guys take care, and I'll see you next week, Wednesday. Marissa, stay online. Let's make sure
I
you get
will. Or I
Good
could
night,
give you another, I could give you my Gmail if that works, because I ain't see it yet.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night. Good night. Take care.
Good night.
Safe out
Good
there.
night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Good night. Take care. Okay, Marissa, you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, let me forward it again. Give me the other email, Marissa.
The other email would be mirstubbs@gmail.com.
MIR Stubbs.
Yes, sir.
STUBBS @gmail.
Yes, sir. .com.
Okay, MIR Stubbs @gmail.com. Okay,
Yes, sir.
okay, I'm sending it. Let me know if you get it.
Yes, I did. It's
Marissa,
there.
so that is very interesting.
I'm telling you.
You and I will have to ponder that until next week's class to try to determine what really happened there. All right, wonderful. You have it. You also have my contacts. If you need to find me, you know where to find me. Okay?
Yes, sir. Thank
Take
you.
care. Be safe. I'll see you next week.
All right, sir.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.